How's it going, everybody? It is Dennis, and we're back with another video. And as you can see on the screen, and as you can see by the title, we are talking about ULTY or ULTY, YieldMax's Ultra Option Income Strategy ETF. And you might be thinking, oh my God, here's another YouTuber telling me to buy ULTY. Oh my God, here's another social media influencer, whatever you want to call me. They're talking about ULTY. I've heard enough. Everybody's buying ULTY. Everybody's buying Misty. But wait. I'm not buying ULTY with cash. I'm not buying ULTY with dividends. And I'm not buying ULTY with option income. What am I buying with? You'll know in a second. But first of all, what is ULTY? If you don't know what ULTY is, it's their weekly paying ETF from YieldMax ETFs. It's their ultra option income ETF. The big news with ULTY, of course, at the moment, as you guys may or may not know, ULTY is actually doing a lot better than Misty, or is being mentioned a lot more than Misty currently, and it has a lot of hype around it currently, a lot of FOMO. And the reason because of that is because, of course, distribution rate's pretty nice, 84.53% since the last distribution that we got. That's the annual average that we're seeking. But besides that high distribution, this fund is actually growing in value. 3 months time frame, the market's currently open, but it's at plus 9.72%. You know, YieldMax ETF, that's actually growing in value when it comes to the share value, right? Also, if you look at the general dividend yield, if you look at stockanalysis.com, not sponsored, 121.58%. It's paid $7.62 so far, and it's a weekly payer that is paying consistently around the 9 and 10 cent mark. Sometimes at 8 cents, but still consistent around the 9 and 10 cent mark. So people are very excited around this fund for that reason. Now, am I FOMOing in? No. Am I testing it out? Yes. Now, you might be asking, how am I doing that without using cash, dividend income, and option income? Well, I'm using this, the Robinhood Gold Card, right? I'm using the Robinhood Gold Card to purchase this fund. You might be asking how? Well, Robinhood Gold Card allows you to get 3% cash back on all purchases. Not sponsored, once again. I wish. But these 3% cash backs that I receive, or the cash I receive from the 3% cash back that I get, I take that money and I put it into ULTY, right? The reason why I'm not going all in into ULTY is because it has a 40% maintenance ratio. As you can see, I only have $68 invested. I only have 11 shares of ULTY. I'm not going all in. I'm not FOMOing in. I'm not adding more, right? It's 40% maintenance ratio compared to YieldMax is 25, QDT is 25, AMZ is 25, and MAGY is 25, right? I have an option side of my portfolio. Therefore, I don't want to put a lot of my money into high maintenance ratio stocks and ETFs, right? My option side of the portfolio, that requests me to use 100% of margin. So all that cash that I put in there, I cannot take out margin on that option side of my portfolio. Therefore, I need to be safer with my other picks like YieldMax, QDT, and MAGY. Therefore, I'm not putting cash, dividends, or option income into this fund, ULTY. Not only am I skeptical on the fund itself, yes, the returns are there. Yes, if you look at the charts, you can see that the overall return, right, is 15.56% compared to 8.12% year to date to S&P. And if you take a look at the 1 year, it's 25.38% compared to 17.5% on the 1 year, right? And that is almost double of what S&P is, right? If you take a look at a year to date, we're almost doubling with the S&P return for the year to date. Now, the reason why this is happening, the reason why everybody's FOMOing in is because they had a prospectus change. ULTY had a prospectus change in this year, and that allows them to trade pretty much however they want, right? They could trade on the downside, on the upside. They could do puts, calls. They could do advanced strategies, simple strategies. They could own the underlying. They could do whatever they want. It's pretty much a hedge fund. That's how pretty much people are putting it online. That's how they're putting it themselves a little bit, right? They're saying it's like a hedge fund. You give them money, they do whatever they want with it, and they make you income with it, right? You just pay them a little bit of an expense ratio, right? But that's with all these funds, right? So that's how they're putting it. That's why there's so much hype. That's why there's so much FOMO. People believe ULTY is the new biggest thing when it comes to YieldMax ETFs, right? It was YieldMax, then it was Misty, and now it is ULTY, right? So ULTY is the big new thing that everybody's buying, everybody wants because of this new prospectus change. And also because of the returns it's been showing, right? It's no denial that total return is up. It's all in the numbers. It's there on the 6 months, on the year to date, on the 1 year. Everything's up. Everything is going up, up, up. But the reason why I'm still hesitant on it and still why I'm using my payments for my cash back from, purchasing everyday things is because if you look at the S&P, it's up 8.12%. A lot of stocks are up currently. A lot of ETFs are up currently. YMAX is up. MAGY is up. QDTE is up in the short term, right? They're all up in the short term period after the tariff issues, right? After the tariffs were paused, everything's going up after that, right? S&P is up 8.12%. All these other funds are up as well. Of course, they're limited due to the upsides, such as ULTY and all these other funds, because they're covered call based and whatever strategy they run. So all these funds are limited, right? All these funds are limited to the upside, but they're still running up, right? That's why I'm hesitant. I want to see how this performs when we're not having such a high run up, when the market is relaxed, when the market is relaxed, chill, and trading a little bit more quietly. The market's not going up 1% a week or 2%, 3%, right? Right now, the market's going crazy. We went all the way from around the 500s up to the record highs of 630s, right? So the S&P is going crazy, and that makes sense why ULTY, YMAX, QDTE, MAGY, all these funds are going crazy as well, right? So that's why I'm still skeptical. I want to see how this fund performs when we go back to normal, when the market is just not going up, 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 up nonstop. I want to see how this fund performs when we balance out, when we're trading more conservatively, right? When the S&P is going up in the usual 8 to 10% matter every single year on average, right? I want to see how this fund performs then. But while I'm seeing how that fund performs then, why not join in with money that is still going to be there, right? That money I receive from the cash back is still going to be sitting in my accounts. So I might as well use it on something like ULTY, right? It's money being added in. So therefore the maintenance ratio is being boosted anyways. So there's no difference for me if I do use it or do not use it, and depending on what I use it, right? So that $60 I put into YMAX, sure, it'll increase my margin percentage, but hey, I didn't have it before, so I might as well put it on ULTY. Not to mention that money that I received from Robinhood, I put into here. This earns me an income. So let's take a look at what this week's dividend was, 10 cents, right? I have 11 shares. I'm going to make around $1.10. And that $1.10, of course, I'm going to reinvest it back in. But if I decide not to reinvest it back in, I could use it to pay the card, right? Obviously, if we have bigger numbers, it makes a little bit more sense, right? So if I had $100, if I was making $100, I could use that $100 to now pay the card, right? Continue to purchase items. That cash back goes into ULTY. The income from ULTY goes into the card, and so on, and so on, and so on. And you can see how it ends up working, right? So I could grow ULTY from the purchases I make every day anyways, as well as the dividends reinvested while we're still building up the shares. And then when I reach a point to where I'm happy and we can see the fund is trading normally and it's, a safe trade for myself personally to invest in, then I take that money and I could use it to then pay the card and my daily purchases, monthly purchases, right? So that is how I'm investing into ULTY. That is why I'm buying ULTY. I'm not FOMOing in. I'm not listening to all these people on the social media, YouTube, Twitter, everything of that sort, Reddit, going ULTY, ULTY, ULTY. This is the way to go, right? Because you look at the charts, right? Up 9.65%. You take a look at S&P, it's up 8.12%, right? If we take a look at the, say, 1 month, right? 4.52% on the S&P. We take a look at the 1 month, it's down actually negative 1.11%, right? So, like I said, I'm still skeptical. I still think that most of this growth that we're seeing from ULTY is because of the sudden market charge upwards after the tariffs were paused, right? We have tariffs being paused and delayed. We have deals being made, and we have the tax bill that went through, which is adding a bunch of money into the government as well as into wealthy companies and corporations, right? So it makes sense for why the market would be heading streamlining upwards, right? You print more, you give more from the government, the market's going to go up, right? So that is why I'm buying ULTY, but that is why I'm being also conservative with it. I understand that, even if you look at past results on the 1 year, even before the prospectus change, ULTY was still trading similar to the S&P, right? As you can see, at some points, it was even below the S&P, but they got their act together around the 2024 time, right? But since that, since that prospectus change, ULTY has been this huge, big thing that everybody's going crazy about, right? Oh my God, the NAV's not going down. Oh my God, they're paying consistent dividends. It's cool. they've been doing that for like, let's see, when did they start paying consistently, right? They started paying consistently around March time. Then we went into April where we had all the issues, and that's when they started trending upwards and paying consistent as well, right? So we have around 4 months of worth of data that we're going off. As you can see, before then they were paying actually monthly. So 4 months of data since they became what's it called? Actually, almost 5 months of data. Oh no, 4 months of data since they became weekly. So I'm still skeptical, right? The same way I'm skeptical on MAGY, right? I'm not going full into MGY. I'm investing week by week, month by month. So that is my outlook on ULTY. That is how I'm purchasing ULTY using the Robinhood Gold Card. Not sponsored. Wish I was. Using the 3% cashback that they give me, throwing it into ULTY, getting the dividends, reinvesting back in. And if, I get to a point somehow where I have a lot of income coming in from ULTY, I will use that income to then pay for my purchases, and therefore rinse and repeat, right? Buy things, send it to ULTY, use ULTY dividend to pay the card off. Buy things, send it to ULTY, use the ULTY dividend to pay the card off, right? So we'll see how it turns out. Hopefully they continue to do good. Hopefully they deliver on their promise of giving, or not their promise, it's not really a promise, you know what I mean? But hopefully they continue to deliver the results that they're delivering. Hopefully the dividends continue to stay consistent, and hopefully this is not just all a big FOMO, and then ULTY starts going down again like it was before, right? You take a look at the 1 year. Yeah, we don't want this ULTY, right? We don't want this ULTY that was going down, 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 down. So we'll see how it turns out. Like I said, it's just I'm not going all in. I'm not going in it. I'm just putting a little bit into it. You'll see this slowly grow. You'll see it on the monthly, slowly growing and growing, right? But you're not going to see it just explode with share counts. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how I'm going into ULTY. That's why I'm going into ULTY the way I am, and what I think of ULTY personally when it comes to that. Of course, not financial advice. Just what I think about ULTY and my opinion on it. I know a lot of people might disagree with me, same way they disagree with Misty. But hey, we've seen it with Misty. The dividend payments have been going down with MSTY, and of course that's because of premiums and volatility. But hey, people are getting out of MSTY and going to ULTY, so it might turn out to be the same way, but hopefully not. Hopefully not. Hopefully my 11 shares continue to pay me a good 10-cent dividend every single week. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next week for next week's video. We're going to be talking about APLY or Apply and going through all the shares I purchased, all the dividends I made, and what my total return is with that big breakdown that I did with AMZ last week. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next week.